Very good. The quote for this evening is, "You cannot be afraid to speak up and speak out for what you believe. You have to have courage, raw courage." And that is from the late U.S. Representative John Lewis. All right.
Herman, you've changed.
To start with this evening, we're going to have Don Bates, who is our litter getter guru and expert, come up and talk to us. That contract actually ran out as of June 30th of this year, so we are needing to look at his new proposal for this upcoming year.
Where you want me over there?
Yes, sir, so everybody can hear you.
Okay, doke.
Microphone. Thank you, Don.
Yep. Here's the,
And-
couple of major reports.
And I think everybody knows Pat.
Yep,
Pat
Pat
works,
can come up here with me.
yeah, works for Don.
Leave
Just
some
kind of-
summary report, so. Thank you, Paige. Thank y'all, Decatur. It's been a long year. Can I take this off while I'm up here by myself? It's been a great year. We've been here for a year, working, cleaning litter out of the streams up here. Pat Underwood's been with us for 4 or 5 months now. Jumped right in with us, another river rat. So just kind of a quick summary. We have the litter getters. We've had 2 traps. We've had some test traps out. We've spent 54 days working up here in the last year. So really wanted to come and jump into it. We're located by Wilson Morgan Park, the main canal that comes into the lake at Wilson Morgan, and then we have a trap at Dry Branch. In a nutshell, we've been really proud of the work. You know, one thing we kind of gauge our work on is what that environment looks like where we're working. It's not so much the poundage that we're trying to get. We want our green spaces to be our green spaces. People are out walking, we want them. And so just from the standpoint of the response we've got from the citizens of Decatur, it's sometimes hard to work with people stopping just saying how great it looks. And so that's really what drives us, and we're very proud of that. So our totals, if you look at what we've done, and this is strictly, we concentrate on litter, stuff that water moves. So we do pick up tires, we do pick up furniture, whatever we find, but we don't really count that in our totals. That's just some lane yap that we get. So we concentrate on that litter that's coming off our streets, coming out of our parking lots, going through our storm water, entering our waterways, and then covering our waterways before it goes to the larger drainage, in this case, the river here. So, and then we also recycle. We're very adamant about recycling whatever we can. And so about 1/3 of our load here actually went to a recycler. So not only do we take it out of the waste stream, it goes to a recycle, and our stuff is recycled. This material specifically was part of a larger load that went to a test product. They're making cinder blocks. They're grinding the plastic up and using it as aggregate in cinder blocks. And then those cinder blocks are being used in Habitat for Humanity homes. So they're testing that. So that's where some of Decatur's plastic specifically went. So to date here, our totals, if you look at our total numbers on litter alone, about 2,000 pounds. That's 2,000 pounds of Coke, of empty Coke bottles, styrofoam. So it doesn't sound like a lot. We got paid by the pound. We just would pick up the tires and keep going, but we don't mix anything. We get out there and get it. So, but that, 4,000 pounds, 2,000 cubic feet. And what's really neat, what that 2,000 cubic feet flips over to is essentially 11 standard dumpsters of litter. That's 11, if you pull down to Wilson Morgan and dump 11 dumpsters of, into that lake, that's what we got out so far this year. So pretty proud of that. We've learned our lessons. When we started, we were a pilot program. We're a new company. Had some different devices. We've actually, in the middle of this project, actually have one of our prototype devices up here. It's on our 4th generation. We're kind of learning on the fly, figuring some things out with some higher flows. We had some interesting times with some of those flows, a lot of damage, but that was part of it. We fixed them. We had a little sabotage going on for a little while, but that seems to have stopped. And so those are our 2 main sites. We also had one at Stratford. So it would have been like Clark Spring coming out of Wilson Morgan Lake. At Stratford, the flows were too high, too chaotic. It didn't work. And we also had a test device at Black Branch, which is the small branch at Mallard Point. Are y'all familiar with that? Mainly vegetation, a relatively clean site. We did it for kind of an awareness site, but we just really weren't getting the litter. And so part of our recommendation for future program is some litter getters, but we've also identified some sites that we think really could just benefit from a routine, just go pick the litter up on a routine basis. It's not generating enough litter to warrant the cost of a trap. And so really, I mean, any questions from kind of where we are, Paige?
I do have for council I believe it's from Blake's company in the 1970s, but what it does, it shows you every underwater stream that sometimes comes out. And I haven't found one except for those. I just gave those to Don for him to make copies. I'll make copies for y'all because there's 6. I was wrong, but there were 9. There are 6 underwater streams throughout our community. So I think you've done a fantastic job, and I think that we really need to talk about, in the beginning, I know we talked about use local people. You do. You've always used local people from Decatur to take care of those, and that's how your relationship with Pat started, and Pat's doing a fantastic job. Pat, you are. Thank you.
And that's really a key part. I mean, I quit my day job a year ago to go be a litter. My wife doesn't know that she married, but I'm a trash man full time now. And our goal is to bring awareness in those communities, because that's where it's going to happen. You can pick up litter all day long, you're really not getting anywhere. But changing mindset, working with the local folks. And so it's been great because Pat came on. We like to get dirty. It's really kind of a special breed to do what we do. We act like it's work. It's really what we do for fun. But Pat jumped in with us. He's been to some of our other sites. He's been to Birmingham, been to Pensacola. We had a big cleanup at a big stormwater detention pond in Pensacola. Came and worked with us. So part of our model is to have those passionate folks local. What better group to be working locally, and then we bring them around and work in other places. So we need another 50 Pat Underwood spread out across the southeast United States to keep doing what we're doing. But our goal here, and we've learned. I mean, we're a new company, and we've learned. But it turns out this litter is not as transient as you would think it is. And so it does hang up in the grass, unless you've got a concrete ditch that, it rolls in those. It still hangs up in the concrete ditches too. And so what we've kind of finding as we grow, we're up to 35 of our litter getter sites in the, in 7 states now, 6 states, is if you can get the litter quick and use your traps as your secondary, that's your best impact. If you're relying on that trap to do everything, well, they're not perfect. No trap is, even the $250,000 traps, stuff gets by. We clean up behind one down in Mobile. But to attack the litter where it is, use your traps as secondary catchment. Concentrate on your visible areas where your citizens are really going. Then we go get the other hidden places too. But if you concentrate on those areas, get it before it becomes litter. It's pretty amazing. We see the change. Mainly, we focus on Wilson, Morgan. And so the fact is, I want to be able to drive on the highway and not see litter in that lake. I don't want to see that piece of styrofoam out there. It looks pretty good. We stay on it. And also by the cemetery was an area that's been a persistent litter problem. I know a lot of citizens are concerned about it. And so we've really worked hard in that area. And of course, everything's green right now and it hides a little bit, but we're pretty pleased with how those areas are looking. Of course, those are adjacent to walking trails. With this COVID, I think we're really seeing an increased use of our walking trails and our green spaces. And so they should be your places. When people come to visit, if they walk here and say, well, what a mess, we're not doing our job, for the cities we're working.
And just to clear, that's Dry Branch next to the cemetery.
Dry Branch, yeah.
Unless you have that map, it's kind of
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
Would like to say a very big thank you to Clint Shelton. Y'all work very well with him, and he has had a lot of cleanups himself. I think he has a little too much fun as well getting dirty, but we appreciate him and his efforts, and some of his buddies go out.
A key part of the folks, every city hopes to have, Clint Shelton and more folks like him, but you burn them out, and so what we really enjoy the communities that we can come in, do our part, and let them keep that passion for more areas and more cleanups and doing what, when you turn your volunteers and your passionate people into your maintenance operations, they tend to find something else to go work on at some point. So this is, Decatur was one of our first clients. We kind of came up here with some faith and some trust. We love it. It's a beautiful city. I don't know. I mean, just driving the roads around Decatur seems different in this last year. Maybe I'm, prejudiced out, but it just looks like, we like to say that's, you start working someplace and it helps, but the city just looks great. And then again, Mr. Ricky has always picked up the trash whenever sometimes too fast before we can even weigh it. We made a load one day before we could weigh it. It was gone. Like, dang it, he got half our weight that day. But we also, we've got a draft report that we're going to leave with the council. We do a lot of data, and so we actually use the litter we find to kind of develop a profile for the city. And so we are seeing, and that's, another day we can talk about some of that, but it's pretty interesting. A lot of the legacy litter has been removed. We feel pretty good about the legacy side. So we're seeing a more recent type of litter, which tells us active littering, which is what you should see. And then Wilson Morgan, we see some of the construction debris stuff that obviously is coming from some of the drainages up towards, we don't like to name businesses, but, up towards the highway, you're getting some of that big sheeting that they wrap pallets of stuff in. We get some illegal dumping. A lot of people, for some reason, feel that ditch, that creek behind their house is where all your brush cuttings go. And that's not, and so we would like to do a little bit looking, and in a positive way, ask folks, that's really not helping matters to put that stuff. We can tell, we'll get a whole load the size of a pickup truck in our trap, and it's all in-cut crepe myrtles. Somebody went and trimmed their crepe myrtles and threw them over their fence. So it's those kind of things nobody's ever thought about. They don't think about it, but it really affects your drainage downstream. It can get into your culverts and your pipes, and so some of that stuff. But we're proud. We hope we get asked to stay, but it's been a great year in Decatur, and we look forward to keep working up here.
And I appreciate what you do. The graphs here, guys, if you can look, I think yours have it too. For us, plastics, 55%, that's what you pick up. And then we go styrofoam, metal, glass, paper, and others. So I appreciate the fact that you keep track of what you're picking up to help us. Maybe we need to look at some ordinances that we need to brush up. So that helps us with that data. So I appreciate that. And then we also invested in those grates that go on storm drains. And you and I spoke about that the other day, that you think that's helping. And I think we've invested. Carl, are you on the line? Carl Pruitt? Actually, they passed it to Carl, I believe. But I think we put $50,000 more into that. And we were talking about it's a cycle. That's where you'd stop it first, and then when it gets through, y'all guys would come in. So I think the investment in both of those are very important. But thank you for everything you've done.
Well, and with the vision y'all have, it's also there's not a silver bullet for litter. Really, the key is awareness, stopping it in the first place. But everything you can do, you can try. As long as you're not overwhelming city staff, we can help with that. But that's where it really is one of those things. I do it almost as Giuliani's broken window when he did the New York, fix everything. But we're really seeing this litter as one of the focus points for communities that are on a path forward.
I'd like some help understanding the data you've supplied to us.
Yes, sir.
And I think your data is great. The data in the first section there, originally we talked a $30,000 contract. Is that what's in this data here?
Yes, sir.
That's basically $30,000 worth of work.
It's about $60,000 worth. We did it.
Well, that's then my next question, because obviously we had already run past the contract time.
Yes, sir.
So
this
this is, shall we say, without defining it, well more than a year's worth.
This was just extra. So once we found that the tactical cleanups are really key, when we were starting our business, so it was, we're gonna put the litter traps out, we're gonna come once or twice, clean them out, and move on. But what we started finding that the tactical cleanups really in concert with the litter traps is how to get ahead. So I made the decision, as we're starting a company, we need to go just do it right. And we made an investment, in this community because we wanted it to be a successful project, not, well, if you had only budgeted this, we could have done more. So we really wanted to just come do this project how it needs to be.
But what we've written you checks for so far is only $30,000.
Right, correct, yes.
Okay, and can you explain to us what the disposed category refers to?
Yes, so that's recyclables versus disposed. So the top bar across is the litter getters. That's what came out of the litter traps. So we have what we recycled is the first two in pounds and cubic footage. So we do volume and weight. And then disposed of is what went to the landfill.
It's just miscellaneous debris, limbs, or whatever?
No, sir, that would strictly be litter, floating litter that wasn't recycled.
Gotcha.
So that strictly represents that. That's where our numbers are either going to a landfill as trash or it's being recycled.
Gotcha.
So is debris limbs?
So no, sir, debris is tires, is large stuff. It's trash that we're taking to a landfill, but we don't count it as litter. Shopping carts. While we break the debris out, is it's so heavy, it really skews your numbers. You know, you can go clean a litter trap out and you'll have 10 cubic feet and it weighs, 7 pounds. Well, I can go pick up 2 tires and it weighs 100 pounds. And so we want to remove those items, but we keep those separate. Because again, we think it's only.
Total, you add the total and the debris.
No, sir, the total is strictly litter. And then you see that debris pounds, we just picked up another 1,100 pounds of debris. That's a total separate.
That's what I mean, it's the two together if you want the total weight.
If you want, yes, sir, if you wanted to. But again, like I'm saying, we can go pick up 4,000 pounds of tires on a Saturday. You know, it really doesn't, it's not what we concentrate on. And so that debris line is just kind of a lame yap of what we're doing.
Very good. I just wanted to be able
yes,
to
sir.
understand the numbers you tossed at us.
Yes, sir. So if you look at it from a total amount standpoint, we disposed of 1,400 pounds and we recycled 465 pounds. The recycling is cleaned up, drained. So if it's a water bottle with water in it, we actually empty the bottle. If it's yellow or spit, it goes to the trash. We don't empty it. So your numbers can be a little higher on the disposed because if it has fluids in it, sometimes we leave them. But, if it's sun-kissed and it's orange, we drain them. And so that recyclable weight is just pure, almost no grass on it, no dirt in it. No, it's not a can full of mud. So that's one of our things we really push is for our numbers to be very pure. Otherwise, we can't be consistent across our whole service area. We want it to be very honest.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Christie,
So-
oh, sorry.
Yes, sir.
No, go ahead, I was going to ask Christie, but go ahead and we'll ask Ms. Hill at the end for questions. Do you have any questions? Go ahead, Chuck.
So the disposed out of the litter getters is glass and styrofoam and things like that.
Could be glass and styrofoam, dirty shoes, backpack, smaller stuff, but anything, chip bags, diapers, tobacco wrapper, a dirty diaper. God, if you can dream it, it's probably in there somewhere. The plastic, we're only recycling, number one, plastics, because that's the market. So a milk jug would be in the disposed because we don't have a recycling stream for milk jugs. A 5-gallon bucket is a number 5, it's polypropylene. So if we don't have a specific market for that to go to, which means somebody will take the stuff for free, because that's what we've got several groups we're using, it's going to be in that disposed.
I think Wanda, are you on the line? Wanda?
I am.
We do take milk jugs at our recycling, don't we?
Yes. We take 1s and 2s.
Yeah, most curbsides will, because our stuff's coming out of the natural environment. Curbside doesn't want what we have. So we have specialty recyclers that take our degraded materials.
Okay.
So some of that could be good enough to go into theirs, but a lot of it's not. So that's why we don't.
Gotcha. Ms. Hill, do you have any questions?
No, but that's good conversation.
All right.
So I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you had more tactical cleanup days, would you get more stuff? Or do you, by spacing it out, you get it either way?
Yes. So what happens is the rain moves it. So you're really working around rain events and tactical cleanups and the litter traps. So we may not see any movement of litter except by wind and tidal coming up the river, pushing it in there in August, because you just don't get the rain. So it's a little bit relative. When we cleaned out, we've done the spring branch south of Wilson Morgan, 3 times now? The first time, we hauled, 20-something bags of trash. We walked all the way from the dam to 6th Street. And we probably got 25, 30 bags out with 6 guys doing that. Today, 2 people can walk that in an hour and get 2 bags by staying on it.
Okay.
It's kind of, and so every site's a little different. And then So the fact that we're using the litter trap, some people say, well, then why don't we just do the tactical cleanup? Well, you could have that big rain and it's all back littered again. So the litter traps, you know, you put them tactically while you're doing, you know, the tactical cleanups. But in concert with each other, they're just super effective. Yes. Our next round, what we're trying to do, what we see is we really have started, and so with our other clients, and our concept is to do the same thing in Decatur, is actually start top to bottom, and you work from upstream to downstream, and you clean every foot of bank to the high water mark of a watershed. We've done some of that here, but that's what we're doing with some other clients. And it's amazing, after that first time you do it, if you'll stay on it, it stays really, you know, it can stay pretty clean.
Do you have your proposal in their packets?
No, ma'am, I do not. I
Okay.
can email that.
That'd be great, and I'll email that out to everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Pat,
y'all.
you want to say anything?
It's been great working with Osprey Initiative, getting involved with Dawn, and just have an opportunity to continue on the path, like I spoke over a year and a half ago here at City Council about the litter in the community. So thank you for the opportunity, Dawn, and thank you for the council giving us this time to speak.
I'm proud of you, Pat. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Don. All right, we will finish the rest of the agenda. And all this. We have City Council regular meeting, July 20th, 2020 at 10 a.m. Any questions? Certificate of Elections, Resolution 2207, issues certificate of election to Ella Jackson for the office of City Council, District Number 1. Any questions? Resolution 2208, issues certificate of election to Michelle Gray King for the office of Board of Education, District Number 1. Resolution 2209, issues certificate of election to Peggy Baggett for the office of Board of Education, District Number 2. Resolution number 2210, issues certificate of election to Dwight M. Jett Jr. for the office of Board of Education, District Number 4. Resolution number 2211, issues certificate of election to Jason Palmer for the office of Board of Education, District Number 5. Any questions?
Paige, the way I understand this, this is pretty much an automatic process. They don't have to be here. I'm thinking we should go through the motions of inviting them at the point of the vote, just in case. I certainly don't want to offend anybody.
Stacy, what's protocol on that? What have we done in the past?
I'll see if they're busy.
Okay. Weed abatements. Do we want to go through all of these? Do we read the, no? Okay. Ms. Hill, are you okay with not going over weed abatements?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, as long as if there's something that David needs to tell us aside from listed here. But yeah, I'm good with that.
Mr. Lee?
I would, Ms. Diddy,
Okay.
Ms. Gilly and I spoke earlier, there was one that kind of got hung up in the system. If we'd like to add, if that's okay, if we started initialized, if somebody clicked on the wrong box, but it would be 2022 Clayton Avenue Southwest for $285. And with your blessing, we'd like to add that.
What was the address again, David?
2022 Clayton. And
$285?
yes, sir.
Ms. Hill, did you get that?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Thank you.
All right.
Is that going to be number Q on that list? No, S.
Yes.
And you'll have a resolution number, right, for that, Stacy?
Correct.
Perfect. Set public hearings, ordinance number 204420, set public hearing on rezoning request 1356-20 to be held on 9/8/20 at 6 p.m. Can we just read these since we are setting public hearings? Okay. Ordinance number 20.
Sounds good to me.
Alrighty. Ordinance number 204422, set public hearing on rezoning request number 1360-20 to be held on 9/8/20 at 6 p.m. Ordinance number 204423, set public hearing on pre-zoning request number 1361-20 to be held on 9/8/20 at 6 p.m. Resolution 2196, 4935, public hearing to be held on 9/8/20 at 6 p.m. on abatement of unsafe conditions at 1405 15th Avenue Southeast. Mr. Lee, anything we need to know about that one specifically? All righty. Resolution number 21974938, public hearing to be held on 9/8/20 at 6 p.m. on abatement of unsafe conditions at 2017 Morgan Avenue. Nothing tonight? Wonderful. Public hearings. Resolution 2198, approve request of off-premise beer and wine license for AZ Convenience Stores, LLC, located at 1201 West Moulton Street, Decatur, 35601. Sal?
Yes, Ms. Bibby, Sal Hosso, Revenue Department. This is a request for a new license by Ali Salih Gab. Want to be transparent here with the council. He he pleaded guilty to a charge of selling cigarettes to a minor in 2014, and in 2016 he pled guilty to sale of alcohol to an underage minor. So with this being said, the police department did the background check, and they recommended to not approve, or recommended not approval of this license.
Any questions on council? Captain Morgan, do you have anything? No?
No, I was treated just based off the fact of the charge
Sure.
of selling to minors, but feel comfortable moving forward with that.
Sal, do we have where in 14 and 16 those took place?
I believe it took place in Tuscaloosa.
Okay. Is this the first time this applicant is asking for this request in Decatur?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a policy, assuming this is approved, if violations occur, is there anything in our policy that deals with previous violations?
There is some statute of limitations, and I do not know what, that you can't apply for an alcohol license after so long as you convicted of a crime like that. I don't know what that is, I'll have to find out. As far as if they go, as far as we go ahead and get the license, avenue after that,
Yeah.
if they do commit a violation, we can submit them, request to have the license revoked.
Okay.
Any other questions, Ms. Hill?
Okay.
Ma'am?
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Orr?
Yeah, Sal, were the violations in the same location?
I don't have that information. I'm sorry. I can have that for you at the next work
That's
session.
okay. The other thing is, were the violations to the individual who was applying, or were they to a worker in the store?
He had made the comment that he was training somebody when these violations occurred, but he was actually the one that was charged and pled guilty
Okay.
on both these
It's the
instances.
store owner as opposed to the person who sells?
It's actually depending on what the case is, you can either arrest just the store owner, or you can arrest both the clerk or cashier to do it, and the store owner, depending on the situation. The questions you're asking, I don't know the answers to those, but it's something we can find.
Well, if the individual here pled guilty, then it would be at least to the person who sold them and him. So it would not have been just.
Unless the manager was actually the one working behind the counter at the time
Okay.
that did the violation.
All right.
Help me here, Sal. 1201 West Moulton, is that the convenience store that was shut down?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Any relation to the previous owner?
No, ma'am, not that I'm aware of. And he was made aware of the history of that store. Obviously not saying that he would repeat, but he was aware of the history and what happened with that previous license was revoked and what occurred there. So he was made aware of that.
Is there any way, just curious, that we can tell how many stores this applicant owns in total, not just in
I don't have that in my paperwork. The paperwork for Decatur, for our application, just asks, does he have another store here in Decatur? It doesn't specify if he has another one within the state or anything like that. I can find out. I advised them that, this was going to be discussed tonight, and if you guys are okay with it, he can be at the pre-work session meeting before the council meeting next week, if you like.
Sal, has Councilman Jackson had conversations with you about this?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? We'll move on to Resolution 2153, Authorized Abatement of Unsafe Property Located at 220 Fifth Avenue Northwest. Public hearing set on 7/6/20.
Yes, ma'am, that's one that's been problematic for a while. The owner is out of town, I believe, had purchased a permit back in the first of the year to demolish it, didn't follow through. We've been there and had more than one set of calls regarding that. We did ask that the council authorize the demolition.
This is in District 1 or 2?
One.
Have you spoken with Mr. Jackson?
No, ma'am.
I'll just request that you reach out to him this week on this, just so he's aware of it. Any other questions? Resolution 2154, authorized abatement of unsafe conditions at 8217 7th Avenue Southeast. Public hearing set on 7/6/20. Mr. Lee?
This is one that's a little unusual, but large tree from a neighboring property fell on the house and severely damaged the roof structure. The owner of the property is deceased, and the relatives were never interested in it. It was appeared to be a decent little home before it was damaged, but the owner carried the deed to the grave with him, and none of the relatives did anything to file the probate or anything, and had no interest in it. So, given that fact, we have talked to some relatives, but they have no interest. It seems to be the only resolution would be to demolish.
Question, and that is in District 2, I believe.
Well, that's business.
Okay, so that's off of 6th Avenue, so it's going to be behind the McDonald's, that direction. Okay, if we demolish it, the relatives aren't interested in the property. Once we demolish it, there won't be anyone to repay the city. Does that become city property?
It would not.
Okay, what, does it become state
Well,
property?
that would be one of those that by following the state law that we use, the assessment cost for the demolition would go against the property taxes. And then, of course, someone could buy it in at the tax sale, pay that. And I guess until now, the property's been taxed exempt. And until this happened, but they don't assess the property. Someone could buy it in at the tax sale, or state of Alabama to tax sale, and someone later had an interest in it. They would collect our monies for us.
But until that happens, the city of Decatur will have to maintain that property with fines, right? I mean, it will be fined.
We're gonna be out until we recover. But it's-
David, clarify what you mean up and until recently it's been tax exempt. Why is that? Because
The guy was disabled or something along those lines.
that was some arrangement through Amanda Scott's office, I
It
think.
just wasn't generating a tax bill due to a disability or
Okay.
age, something along those lines.
Thank you.
Have we had previous weed abatements on this property?
No,
Who's
ma'am.
maintained it?
Not that I know of. I think the neighbors just to keep it from being a problem. They knew that he was deceased. Now, I don't take that at 100%. We may have done a weed abatement or two on it, but it's not one that sticks in my mind. It's been problematic in the past.
Chris, did you have that address? It is in your district.
Ma'am, I do.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions?
The tree is still on the house.
The tree has not been moved. Okay, so how long has that been on the house?
All 3 months maybe.
When's the tree gonna get locked up?
I guess when they get it on the ground.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Alrighty. Ordinance number 24413, rezoning request number 135420, approximately 40.9 acres located north of Dalford Street Southwest and west of 14th Avenue Southwest from R2 to R3. Public hearing set on 7/6/20. Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty.
Everything is okay.
Okay. This is the same property that wants to be developed into homes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what the R2 and R3 are, please.
The R2 is just a little bit larger size than the R3. The R3 has a little bit easier setbacks, but they are very similar in their function. They allow, as compared to R1, which is generally a much larger lot, minimum of 15,000 square feet. R2 is 10,000, R3 is 7,000, but this has been a little bit more popular zoning with a lot of the developers, the R3.
Did I understand you to say these are typically going to be 7,000 square feet?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Matt, have we seen the final plan for this subdivision construction?
No, ma'am. They started with just a small amount that they were showing us when we had a meeting down in Athens at Morrell Engineering. They showed us some of the initial plans, but there was nothing to actually send us home with. But it's kind of, I don't want to make it sound unexciting because housing in Decatur is a good thing. It's sort of a standard sort of lot, a plat that we would normally see for an R3. So they plan on doing it in phases in order to not have to, fund the whole thing at once. And that's basically it.
This property does have a drainage issue, is it? Is that not correct? Am I thinking of the same one?
When you look at it, no, ma'am, the drainage has been accounted for. I think Carl could tell you more about that, but when we looked at the plans, there was a whole lot of making sure that the drainage was working just fine. It does get divided by these very distinctive Dry Branch Creek, I believe, is one of them. And you can kind of see where some of the subdivisions were laid out because of some of this drainage, but it has been accounted for in the drawings.
Carl, are you?
Or at least the ones we saw.
Carl, are you on the line? Guess not. Matt, do you know if that's been ADM approved, that drainage that was done to that land?
No, ma'am, I do not, but I can make a note of that if you like.
Yes, sir. If you could verify with ADM that they are happy with that drainage that's been done.
Yes, ma'am, sounds good.
Any other questions? Ordinance number 204414, approved rezoning request number 135520, a tract of land containing approximately 1.2 acres and is located Sexton Road southeast and west of Highway 31. Public hearing set on July 7th, 2020.
Very good.
Max, any?
Yes, ma'am. Nothing to add.
You want to give us a brief description of that for council?
This was done by Jeff Parker. He is looking to try to rent this out, I believe. And so right now it's listed as a B3, and they want to take it to an M1. And I don't remember the exact the light manufacturing, but Carl was at the meeting, and it matched everybody's understanding of what light manufacturing would be.
This isn't the property that they want to build a house on or keep a house, right? The existing house?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That is further south. It is also on Highway 31, but it's further south.
All righty. Any questions? Ordinance number 204416, rezoning request number 135720, approve a tract of land approximately 0.16 acres, more or less, is located east of 6th Avenue Southeast and south of Prospect Drive Southeast. Public hearing set on 7/6/20.
And this is the building that is currently zoned here. I'm sorry, got the file right here. 708, like you said, 6th Avenue. It is currently zoned a B6, an office district, and he wanted it rezoned to B2. Then we suggested B1. He was very happy with that because there was a hair salon who would like to move in, and we thought that was an appropriate use considering that it is part of B1 is supposed to be there for the neighborhood.
Any questions? Thank you, Matt.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Resolution 2199, assess $9,430 against 4067, that's an extra T there, Avenue Southwest for cost of abatement of unsafe conditions.
That's one of our demo assessments.
Any questions? Resolution 2200, assess $6,205 against 2618 Pool Avenue Southwest for cost of abatement of unsafe structure.
And that one we need to make an adjustment on.
Okay.
The contractor billed us for the wrong amount, and that's what went on the resolution. And then that was discovered today when it was getting ready to be submitted for payment. So the correct amount of that on the resolution should be $5,830.
So
Even?
a decrease. Everybody get that number? Ms. Hill, did you hear that number?
Can you repeat it?
$5,830.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Resolution 2201, approval to provide Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2 plan members. Ms. Salem?
Yes, ma'am. This is a proposal to have the city move in the direction of providing Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2 members, and it essentially changes the retirement eligibility date to 25 years versus the 10 years plus 862. It will change the mandatory contribution rate for those Tier 2 employees. We elected not to move with changing the existing Tier 1 member contribution rate, and the funding for this has been considered in the FY21 budget, and John is available to help with that information if you need dollars.
Since we have not approved the budget, should we not wait until we approve the budget before we, I mean, I don't feel comfortable approving this without seeing what all's in the budget.
And I do believe Mr. Jackson asked for us to delay this until he could be here, the conversation.
Well, I'm fine with that. I just think we ought to look at it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Look at everything.
Yeah.
John and Rochelle, what I would like to see in this when we do consider it is a list of what it means going from the 1 to 2 and what effect short-term and long-term is on our liabilities. Can that be done on a short
I think
synopsis?
what you see in the resolution is the contribution rates changing. On our side, the cost is pretty much between $130,000 and $140,000 per year.
But
There's more changes on the benefit side. The costs are basically full rates, whether you're existing Tier 1 or whether you're new Tier 1, or whether you're a regular employee or a public safety employee. So there's 4 different rates that are applied to the individual.
And I caught your part about the effect, let's say, for example, in next year's budget and the budget thereafter. My question also includes a longer-term liability, how that affects us.
When you say longer liability,
Well, like if those employees have some kind of change or die or whatever, you know.
there's no, it's not like the old Tier 1, the medical benefits and all of that, it's phased out already. This is just being able to retire with 25 years of service and a different contribution rate.
It's also a factor of retention and recruitment. I've got a table I can also provide of all the cities around us who have moved in this direction.
Do you have the cities who have not?
I can find that, I think. I've just
would be
pretty much kept
curious,
track of the ones who have adopted it. See, you'd like to see who has not.
I can tell you, Montgomery is not. I have them upstairs, the CFO can talk, we can talk about. Huntsville is not, it's current.
Yeah, I would just want to know where we could pull, that would be, I think, a good recruiting tool. I'm just wondering where we could recruit from the other cities who have not passed it, so. All right, any other questions? So we will, do y'all want to table this until the budget and Mr. Jackson are here rather than, okay? Is that okay, Christie?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So resolution 2021-201 will be tabled. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not that I expect the budget to get hung up in any way, shape, or form, but just, you gotta realize that if we don't pass it before 1 October, it skips to another year. If they've extended it out for 1 more year.
Well, we have to have our budget done by October 1 too, so.
I understand that, that's what I'm saying.
But you anticipate having our budget ready for council to look at
Yeah, that's-
soon?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Alrighty, resolution 2202, authorized JAG grant acceptance. Suzanne?
Good evening. This is for the application and acceptance of the 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial JAG Grant in the total amount of $13,577. $81.77 will be for the city police department to use to purchase 34 gas masks, and the remaining $5,400 is for the county to purchase 3 laptops to use in the field.
And if you didn't know, I didn't know until last week, Suzanne has now moved upstairs to the grant department with Alan. So Alan, you have more pretty scenery to look at, so there you go. Any questions about that? Already resolution, thank you, Suzanne. Resolution number 2203, award bid number 20019 for a F-750 dump truck to Woody Anderson Ford in the amount of $83,662. Charles?
Yes, ma'am. We solicited bids for the Park and Recreation's tree crew, and we received 2, and Woody Anderson was the lowest at the $83,662, and I would recommend award to them.
One comment on this. This was previously approved for funding from the unassigned balance at $75,000. So by approving this, at the same time, you're also approving an additional $8,300 and change from the unassigned balance.
Why the difference? Is it a year model difference, or? Charles, why the difference?
This is this is a 2021 model.
Okay. Jason, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
You okay with this truck?
Man, yeah.
All right, I just make sure you're happy. All right. Any other questions?
The one they're using now doesn't have any brakes.
Well, that's not good. That's not good. I wouldn't tell Rodney that.
Yeah,
then.
they fixed them. It's just they're pouring a lot of money into the maintenance and repair on the one they're using now.
All righty. Thank you. Resolution 2204-4940 authorized the mayor to execute Barnett, agricultural services agreement for Daikin Amphitheater improvements. That was a mouthful. Mr. Marks.
Hello. I believe it's architectural.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it sure is. My bad.
And I'm gonna yield my time to the mayor who can explain it better, but basically, Barnett would provide architectural services at the Dyken Amphitheater, and mayor will now share, hopefully, what his responsibilities will be. I'm talking about Mr. Barnett's.
So, and council, thank you so much. As you probably recall, Dyken America presented a $180,000 gift to the city for their 25th anniversary. And when thinking of the type of projects that Dyken likes to see happen with their generous gifts, for example, the original Dyken Amphitheater, Dyken Gardens, and most recently the Princess Theater marquee upgrade, consideration was given to installing permanent lighting and sound at the Dyken Amphitheater. It seems that our amphitheater might be underused, and the reasons that many have heard about the underuse is the cost associated with setting up lighting and sound, especially if you have a multi-day event and you need to take it down because of weather concerns and things of that nature. Mr. Barnett, Sam Barnett, was the architect for the Dyken Amphitheater and would like to lead this project to the point of reducing his fee in an effort. And I need to note right now that I have a packet for each of you, but it's not in front of you right now. It's in my hands, and it will be in your mailboxes tomorrow that outlines what I'm sharing with you. So anyway, he's reduced, Mr. Barnett has reduced his fee in an effort to make the project happen. Then there's a rendering that will be included in your packet. It shows two structural steel towers on the left and right sides of the amphitheater that fit in rather nicely with the existing theater, and then a lighting rack that connects between the two towers. Contractor Service Fabricators owner Willie LaFaver has agreed to provide in-kind services for the structural steel fabrication and professional engineering to do that portion of the project. The lighting and sound controls will be installed in a 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot, a rather large and weatherproof enclosure, which Mayor Electric in Decatur has agreed to provide. The sound controls will have fixed sound level settings so that the sound will not be a nuisance to surrounding neighborhoods. Users will be able to bring their equipment in and just plug into the system that will be in place with your approval, and then unplug whenever they finish their program. And the lights and sound and such will just go based on the programming that they have with their systems. The majority of the cost will be in the lighting and the sound equipment. Mr. Barnett has been working with a vendor for those services. So I'm blessed bringing you these packets that I have, which I should have put them in your boxes today. I've shared everything that I can recall. Really, what I'm asking is that for you to give consideration to approving the proposal that Mr. Barnett has provided for a flat fee of $10,000.
Can we go back to the first? I know you said 180. I thought it was a $200,000 donation by Dyken.
They pulled $20,000. It was initially, Council President, and they pulled $20,000 out, if memory serves me right, and gifted that to the to Cook's Pest Control, or Cook's Museum of Science, Natural Science.
I think it was 40, wasn't it, Mayor?
John, what's the balance, bud?
I'm thinking it was 160 and 40 also.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, all right. So let's drop it, and thank you, Chuck, Councilman Menard. So the number would drop to 160.
So let me understand. You have the packets with the renderings already provided by Mr. Barnett, or he still has to do those?
No, it includes a rendering, one that he's suggesting at this time.
So when is that finished now?
It's not engineered, it's just a rendering, yes. I'll have it in your box tomorrow.
Does he have a price with that, an estimated price for the completion of project?
So as I mentioned, the structural steel, the fabrication, the engineering and installation is an in-kind donation from Contractor Service Fabrication. And then Mr. Barnett has reduced his price. Mayor Electric is donating the very expensive enclosure. So the cost is in the lighting and the sound. Now the lighting and the sound cost is around $180,000. So where my number was off by 20,000, that'll be the delta that we have. And that's included in this package.
Is that
All the math will work.
Is that installed, the lighting and the sound, or is that just the lighting and the sound uninstalled, that 180?
The way the package reads is that it's installed.
And so if this amount exceeds the donation amount, is any additional coming from unassigned fund balance?
It'll need to come, so let's say that the number that we have is 180,000, but the cash that we have to take care of this cost is 160, then yes, it will need to have another funding source. Right now, what we're asking to do is to allow Mr. Barnett to move forward with putting the design together and all the engineering, et cetera, to get started with the project.
Will this at a cost? Or this, I mean, we're saying it is capping off at 180, there's no possibility of going over?
Well, there's always a possibility of something going over.
So, but council could, if we vote in the extra 20,000, we could say 20,000 period, and anything over that 20,000 would have to come back to council for more approval, is that correct? Okay.
Absolutely, yes. Council is the only body that can approve spending in the city.
Any other questions?
Would that include the 10?
I'd like to make one more comment,
One second.
I'm very thankful.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. We had a question.
I'm very thankful. I'm sorry for talking over someone. I just want to say thank you again to Daikin for their generous gift.
We had a question, Mayor. Does that include the 10? Is the 180, is the 10 included in the 180?
The enclosure,
No,
I'm not
for his services.
No, Mr. Barnett's fee is what they're asking. Is that in the 180?
I understand the question. The price keeps going up.
So is that
No, the 180 is good question. So the 180 is for the lighting only
and
sound. Excuse me. Lighting and sound.
Okay, so it would be 30 that we
So
would.
it does not include the fee.
Not include the fee.
Good question.
Paige, this is Charles, if I might add.
Yes, sir.
The mayor and I spoke, and if the city expends any more than $50,000 of city funds with the contributions deposited into our account, this would have to go out for bid.
Okay, so we're saying we would have to bid it before Mr. Barnett could do it, is that correct?
No. We'd have to have all of his drawing. We'd have to have everything he does prior to construction to be able to do the bid.
Okay,
He's talking about for the lighting and
I
sound.
understand. Okay.
Yeah, we'd have to use his specifications, drawings, and everything in the bid package.
But we could use the Daikin 160 to pay his 10. Correct? Okay.
Ms. Hill, do you have any questions?
Not at this moment, but I would like a packet.
Oh, you'll have it tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Ms. Hill, I will bring it to you, unless you're going to be up here.
That would be great. Could you also bring the one from Dawn?
I could. I will certainly do that for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's see. Resolution 2205, approve Point Mallard Park It's partial refund authorized under certain circumstances. Wow, that's vague. Herman, can you explain that?
Well, Jason could, basically, they gave the example, that, for example, somebody paid for 30 days, to park their recreation vehicle, and, a flood came and they had to move out. This would be a chance for them to, have a partial refund of the part they couldn't use. Now, Jason can give you more details.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I have a question. Does this
Okay.
include the refunds for the passes that were sold for this year at the water park also?
No, no, ma'am. Here's the thing: is what this is this is covering anything, because all of our prices are accepted by council. So for something, say like what Herman was just saying, if somebody paid for a month of camping and we had the flood, we would prorate their refund. In other words, we would prorate their refund. We wouldn't give them the whole month back just for the time they weren't there. Another example would be at the golf course. We've had instances where people moved. We had a gentleman that got cancer and came and he actually showed us all the stuff and all that. And so instead of, not giving him a refund or giving him the whole thing back, we were just prorating those. And when we do the RFP to ask for the refund, we put that information on there.
So what do you estimate that your refunds are right now?
Well, I don't know a total amount. I don't think this is a matter of there being a lot of money out in refunds. The question was with finance was if the cost is not the same, if the refund amount is not the same as the accepted cost or price, then that's where I think there was a level of discomfort.
How?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're just asking for permission to be able to give out partial prorated refunds without having to come to council every time to do so. Legal told us we had to, so that's why we're here doing this.
Mr. Lake, could you do me a favor? Could you send either electronically or put in our box what our policies are at each of our facilities on refunds?
I can.
Okay. So we have those that are existing?
You mean existing policies as far as giving money?
Yes.
We do. We've been doing partial refunds as long as I work for the city. So I mean, I have no problem with what we're doing.
Yeah, you can send it either electronically or put it in our boxes, and I'll take Ms. Hill hers if that's what it is. Any other questions? Hey, how have we addressed the passes? Have we refunded anyone for their passes to the water park?
There were some. We offered to let them carry those over, or to get a refund, and we put a time frame on that refund. And the majority, of course, they just rolled it over, but there were some refunds.
Do you have any idea how many we refunded?
Well, the time has just been up here in the last little bit, so I haven't got a total on how much was refunded yet.
I think finance just said 73.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
And that's not bad considering it was in the past. It's been a lot. There's a lot of sales on those days.
Oh, yeah. Any other questions? Thank you, Jason. Resolution 2212, appoint election officers for the municipal elections to be held on August 25th, 2020, and runoff, if necessary, on October 6, 2020.
That's a requirement for us to list all the workers at each of the poll locations. and also to publish it.
Stacey, let me ask you, I know since we have COVID,
Mhm.
are there any different requirements this year that you're having to adhere to that normally you would not? And how do you feel your staffing numbers are to accommodate all of the changes, or just to accommodate what you have to do as in response to the election results?
It's quite a bit more this year because you're having to be prepared with Lysol, pens, gear for the poll locations, masks, gloves, the whole 9 yards. Then you're having to locate additional people as a backup, hopefully, because people, depending on how this goes with our numbers, hopefully we won't lose too many more, but the other side of it is we're having to create additional training for them, which we've worked through so far, but we're expecting probably about 3 times the amount of absentees coming in based on what they experience over at the county, and that's my department in addition to other duties. So do I have concern? Yes.
So do you feel like we are not adequately staffed for that? And I guess my question with all of these additions, do we need to look at adding to your budget that was approved for elections?
I don't know if we'll have to add to it. I'm actually willing to look at it from reducing training, because that's obviously not something we're going to be able to do with this going on. We could work it out within our budget just to get some additional help.
So I'm just gonna, if you need additional help, if you feel you do not have the staff to adequately abide by
yeah.
the law, please let us know. That's
Yeah,
what we're
because
gonna
we
do.
have training this Thursday over at the Princess, and thank you to the Princess because they're letting us use their facility at no cost. But we're going to be doing training there, so we're going to have half the staff there, and ballots come in, guess what? Absentee time. So, yeah, it's hitting already.
Well, just keep us abreast if you need
I
any
will.
other funds to.
Thank
cover
you.
that.
If these people do not, that are listed, if they don't show up, then they just aren't trained. I presume that's why you have a lot of assistants.
We have, well, that's based on the size of the poll
Okay.
and how many voters. You have to do a calculation for that. And the state law pretty much dictates how many you have. So we have some big polls.
Just let us know if you need more
I-
funds to adequately
Okay.
man those.
Thank you.
Boards and committees, I'm sorry, any other questions with that? That wasn't a, okay. Boards and committees, reappoint John Whitley to the Medical Health Center of North Alabama. Reappoint John Godwin to the Historic Preservation Commission. Appoint Kevin Malcolm to the Historic Preservation Commission. Reappoint John Allison to the Historic Preservation Commission. Reappoint Al Cheatham to the Municipal Utilities Board. Reappoint Harvey Pride to the Decatur Morgan County Port Authority. Mayor's appointment to the Decatur Housing Authority, Ruth Priest, 08/05/2025 is that term, and that does not require a vote, so that will be.
It's just a housekeeping.
And I assume we've received applications from all of these folks?
Yes.
Okay.
Have we verified that none of them exceeded their 2 terms?
I can tell you that we have John Whitley, second full term.
This will be his second, or this would be his
Second
third?
for full term.
This would be his third.
No, this will be his second.
Okay, so he's okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Then, when it comes to the Historic Preservation Commission, we have John Godwin. Now, he is the,
He's the architect.
and I think is he not the chairman of that board as well? Is he not anymore? Okay. Okay, and let's see, John Allison, he's the archivist, so I don't really know what you're gonna gain from him not being on there, but he's been on there holding that position for quite a
Kevin
while.
Malcolm, first term?
Yeah, and now the Kevin Malcolm is new. He's replacing Roger Henson's. John, well, we already went over John Allison. But John Allison, well, like I said, he's county archivist. John Godwin he actually he's old Decatur too. So you got either or, he can do most. He's been on there since '01.
And this is going to be Al Cheatham.
This is Al Cheatham's first term with the
Full
DU
term.
board. He was,
Yes, it's full term.
Yeah, and what is this on Harvey Pride?
I show records back to 95.
It's 95.
And this was brought to us.
what did you say about Harvey Pride serving since 95?
Yes.
Based on notes. Yes.
And the utility board is separate. It is a state mandated 9-year term.
Right. Now, the other thing, though, is with the Port Authority, that one is set up a little bit different. You've got 2 and 2.
So you've got county.
County,
They
and then
can-
you've got a rotator.
They can rotate them around,
Mhm.
right? So they can serve one city term, one county term, one city term, one county term. So that must be a way to get around the sequential things of that. Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
The historic preservation, we're working through trying to get that where it's on, we're not serving those 2 terms because of, like the architects and old cater and all that. We're trying to get to the point where we can rotate those out. And with John, he was the chairman for quite a few years, and now Doug is, so we're trying to rotate so that maybe this would be the last time we bring in new architects.
And I believe
Yeah.
that is a mandate of their,
It is.
their board, their board
Yes.
policy, right?
They've got Old Decatur,
Do
Albany.
they also have to have an
Heritage.
attorney on that board, or is it just an
Mm-mm.
architect and?
Business owners. Albany Heritage, and then your Morgan County Historical Society, yeah. And 1 Main Street commercial business owner.
How many members are total on that board, Alan? Do you know?
It is a total of 7.
Okay. And Herman, we'll address the old business. Over the weekend, we had a issue with our new Sidewalk Cafe modifications for COVID. And I asked planning as well as you to, if we in the future have an issue, what the steps would be if they did not go through the proper channels to do that.
All righty. Well, there's 2 different issues that we're trying to be addressed. If you already got a Sidewalk Cafe permission or license, then you can continue with that as long as you follow the rules. But there is a provision in there that the police chief or the building director can revoke that license or that permit. The word license, we'll use the word permit. It's the ordinance uses license, but we're not talking about the business license. We're not talking about their alcohol license. We're just talking about permission to use city public space. All right. So this last weekend, as we know, we've got this temporary opportunity for restaurants to seek additional approval and use some of the space in front of their structure. But they have to come to the council and get that approval, just like other sidewalk cafes do. All right. So what we had was we had a business that chose not to get the permission to use a certain part of the sidewalk, and there was blockage. It appeared to be blockage of the sidewalk. So the question became, what happens if they don't follow the law? Well, the answer is, if you don't follow the law, then you're subject to being penalized with a fine or whatever. So that's where we are. If they've got permission already, then that can be reviewed to be revoked by either the building director or the police chief. And then, of course, depending on the offense, then it could move toward a suspension or revocation of your alcohol license or your business license, but that involves the council and having a public hearing and all that. So the simplest way to address it is to ask the business owner to comply with the law, and you start out with that, and if they don't, then you, just like any other offense, then the police has to make a determination as to what citation or summons or arrest needs to be made.
And that would typically be trespassing on city property without permission.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have permission to do it, then you're just like any other place. You're trespassing, or you could be potentially blocking a sidewalk. That's another offense. But those are the kind of things that the police department review. But yeah, the planning department sent out some information to you, and it covered different areas. But I didn't want everybody to get tied up with the word license in this case for the sidewalk, because it's really a permit. In other words, it's permission to use the city's sidewalk. And and just like what we're talking about here, the expansion of the sidewalk cafe, you would have to come back to the city council to get that, and then they would have to show that permission that the council granted to the ABC board, who would have to also approve the process. So ABC guidelines require you to delineate the premises you're going to be using, and also to show that you have approval from the city of Decatur to use this property. So it's a two-tier opportunity. But that's what we do. If we see a violation, then we respond accordingly, and if you're misusing the permit you already got, then you're subject to losing that. So that in a nutshell is what we have.
And I guess a question to follow up on that, again, we are doing this in response to the COVID virus, COVID-19 virus. So you can't just then take your new tables and shove them into your existing sidewalk cafe, because then that would violate the governor's order of distancing. Is that correct?
Well, if you violate, let's talk about the governor's order or health order. Since when we're talking about generally is a restaurant, then the Alabama Department of Public Health has jurisdiction over restaurants. But to answer your question, it would, if they violate the governor's order or the state health officer's order, we have the ability to, of course, first share, if we need to, with the health department here locally, so they'll be aware of it. Their inspectors can check it. But the police would also, just like any other offense, could take appropriate action if you're violating that order, because we as a city have adopted the state laws, incorporated them. So in order, if you violate the state law in this particular situation, you're violating a city ordinance also. So, but I would say that the health department needs to be made aware of violations of the governor's and the state health officer's orders, because it's very important at this point that we comply with that order. And as a sidebar, our ordinance, our masking ordinance is now on hold because the state health order takes precedence. As long as it stays in effect, the state health order stays in effect, then our ordinance is in abeyance, so no, it's on hold. And once it goes out of, once the state order goes out of effect, then the city's ordinance would go back into effect.
For 30 days.
Presuming that the health, because we need to look at it every 30 days. I'm talking about our ordinance. So presuming that we extend it or we don't amend it or whatever, it would go back into effect.
Well, Harmon, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the items on my list to ask about. The governor on Friday could either extend the current order or call it off, which case we'll have to decide what is 30 days for us. And you just answered my other part of that question, what do we do? So our ordinance goes back in effect based on however many days it has left, based on how the governor decides Friday.
That's right. Because you just review it every 30 days. You may decide to amend it. You may decide to leave it like it is, or you may decide to make it have it expire. So anyway, but yeah, a lot of it depends on what the governors and the state health officer decide before Friday of this week.
So when the governor makes or fails to make that call Friday, you'll update us on when our 30 days needs to happen?
Yes, sir. But I would be very surprised if the governor or the state health officer doesn't do some kind of action. They have consistently, before the deadline, made a determination. So yes, but yes, we will, once we know what they're going to do, then we can advise what y'all's options are. Yes.
Thank you.
And Herman, on the health order that the governor, or the order, the 6-foot separation, speaking with Judy Smith, who is over our county health department, the health department is only over the food portion if there is a waitress, waiter that does not have a mask. Now, the enforcement of the numbers of occupancy has been determined to be the enforcement of the police department of that city or municipality. So if the Sidewalk Cafe was being slammed with people, it would be then the enforcement of the police to take care of that. But I agree with you.
I think that
I think the health department needs to be made aware as well.
Yeah, I do, because restaurants are responsible to assist in that, but our ordinance makes it a little bit more clear. But yes, the police department could enforce what you just described. Sure could.
Why did you use the word could? I'm just curious. I mean, if there was an obvious violation, would they not do that?
Well, reason I say could is because it gets down to a fact determination. If they see that there is a violation, then they should take action. I use the word could because it has to be a violation. So they have to determine that just like they do anything else. So, no, they need to, if they see a violation of the law, they need to take action. Let's do it that way.
All right.
Now, the reason I use could is because it depends on the facts. All right.
Any other questions?
Not on that.
Okay, Council.
I had two other quick things. According to Huntsville Media, Morgan County has filled out roughly 68% on the census. Other communities are both ahead and behind us, but a lot of other communities are actually holding events where people can drive up and get census information filled out. I am very concerned that if we don't improve that 68%, that we could be losing some money, both state and federal grants. The other thing is, I had mentioned to a couple of you that I was asking to meet and talk about some possible small business incentives based on the COVID situation. And John and Kyle and Sal were kind enough to meet with me. We've looked at it, and there is just too many difficulties in trying to implement that at this time, too many barriers, too many unknowns, and it's my intention at some point down the road to look at it again if they'll be kind enough to tolerate the conversation.
Does anyone, Matt or Alan, do y'all have the numbers of the percentage in 2010 of participation in the city of Decatur? I want to think that when Karen Smith was here, it was much, much lower than 68%. Does anyone know?
Hello, Paige. This is Matthew. The last numbers from 2010 were 72% as a nation. As far as the county goes, I will have to find that particular figure.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank
No
you.
worries.
They have just started door to door, as John said, so, I mean, we may be lagging behind.
Well, if the nation's average was 72, we're pretty close to that, so that's pretty
Well,
good.
This is Tab. We, just last month, we were number 5 in the state.
Awesome.
Morgan County was.
That's great.
That's right. And Mayor, we actually moved up to number 4. So that's a very good thing.
Is there
Okay,
a way
thank
that
you.
is there a way that we can put something out for at voting to try to register people that are not, or to encourage people?
At this point, it's, Matthew helped me with this. Right now, it's self-reporting, right?
It's still, what now?
Self-reporting at this time?
Correct.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, is there
Get rid of
anything that we
names.
can do at the polls to help people register or to encourage them or to help get our numbers up?
Posters, things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I may have an idea.
Matt, do you have any posters or PR materials that Stacy could put in polling
I can do that.
places?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we have quite a bit of nice stuff. I've been trying to share it with other people to encourage them to get others to join the census. But yes, we have several of our promotional items as well as several posters that could be put out. We have wrap cards as well that I think, Mayor, would serve sort of the function you're concerned about.
I suggest we put them in the polling locations simply to encourage people to sign up, to fill it out.
That's a great idea, Chuck, I agree. Matt, can you get with Stacy on what we can do there?
Yes, ma'am. I'll write a note right now.
Perfect, thank you, Chuck, that was a great idea. Any other council members? Directors?
No, ma'am.
Directors? Oh, I'm sorry, John is waving his hand. John, go ahead.
Good evening. We had previously tried to schedule the approps, and they were put off so that we could get a better feel for where we were. We've worked with the department heads. They've been very cooperative and very aware of our financial situation, and so we've been able to work and get our numbers into a balance. Our budget right now is at $64,540,398.
What is that presuming for appropriation?
That assumes level appropriation funding for the most part. There might be some minor adjustments where people were given a one-time slight bump, that we took it back to what it's been historically.
And 911 is, it
And
goes up
I
down.
don't have 911 yet. Okay, so what I'd like to do for the week of 10 August is schedule the appropriation meetings.
Is that okay with council? Anyone have a, Christie, did you hear that? August 10th that week?
The week of August 10th?
Yes.
Probably 2
Yeah.
days,
Can we do
4
that
hours
Monday?
per.
Are we already meeting?
Yeah, well, you've got a 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock
It's a work session.
We do one of them, maybe 2 hours before
Yeah.
the meeting on
sure.
Okay.
We probably need, there's probably gonna be close to, I think there's 30. So you figure, 20 minutes per, max. No? What do you wanna do?
Did list last time.
We did 5 once.
Yeah, you did 5.
8 to 10, I think.
Well, I'm counting time for questions back
Oh,
and forth
well,
and
that's-
everything else in that too.
Well, actually, we did pretty close to,
So you wanna do 15?
I think we did 8 minutes.
We did.
And
Yeah, I
time
think
for questions, so.
This one's gonna take a little more time.
10 per.
10 per.
So they get 5 to make their case, and then 5 for questions.
Do that.
I mean,
Oh, that's fine. You have to be satisfied. You're making the decisions. I just have to schedule.
Okay, so we have, of course, August the 10th. What time? We have a 5 o'clock work session, so we need to know when to start. Christie or Chuck?
let's 2 to 5.
2 to 5?
I'll
Well,
make that suggestion.
should we do 1:30 to 4:30? That way we have a break in between.
That's a great idea.
Okay. So we'll
What?
do 1:30 to
One-
4:30,
30 to
and
4:30.
then at 5 we have.
Can we get another date also, please?
Another date, Christie? Or Chuck, whoever?
What works best for Chuck and Charles?
I could actually do Tuesday, in this case, at least Tuesday afternoon. But John, you've also got another detail we need to understand, that you've got some separated out that we haven't put a name to, but aren't technically appropriations. And I've been using the word essential services. So what we need is a list.
Well, I will put that out tomorrow. We have moved emergency management, library, I think, and
911.
911, excuse me.
I can do Tuesday.
Christie, can you do Tuesday?
Yes, ma'am. Is that August 11th?
Okay, what time?
Same time as on Monday, 1:30 to 4:30?
Will that get us close to what we need time-wise?
I'll compact it, if I can.
Okay, so August the 11th, Tuesday, 1:30 to 4:30.
John, let me ask you this on your thinking. Morgan County Tourism, as far as presenting, theirs is fixed by formula.
Correct.
So why do they need to
Let me
present?
check
Do you want to know what they're doing, what they're planning? You tell me.
I don't think there's any problem with getting information, but of course, obviously, there's a lot less reduced tourism money coming in right now, too.
Probably wouldn't be bad to hear what that effect is.
Okay.
I mean, you go to the meetings normally, not everyone does. I think it would be good for them to tell us what they're
Yeah.
looking forward to at least.
All right?
Okay.
Good. Anything? Oh, and Brad. It's up to council. Are we gonna stream these on?
I don't know that, and again, public that wants
If they're doing a
information
special
is
call
free
work
to
session and
attend.
there's a
But
quorum
a lot of
here,
those
I would
people
say
have very
that.
sensitive financial information.
It's just a work session.
And it's still public.
Well,
They're
it's
seeking
a
public
special
funds. It
call
has to be
because you're
done.
not doing.
But the public has the opportunity to come to the meeting.
Go ahead and just, it's easier to do it.
Yeah, I'm with Chuck. Christie, what do you think? I mean, I think that it should be public. I think everything we do should be public except for executive session, which only.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Work session.
I agree.
Broadcast are not a different thing.
Yes, Brad. Yes, they will. Thank you.
Here or 7 floor?
Here.
No, that can be moved.
And they'll just
It's
have to
ARB.
they'll just have to stage.
Yeah.
They can go to 7.
They can move
I
those.
suggest you kind of give them timing because there's not going to be room for them to all get up.
That's the whole, they'll be scheduled in those blocks.
I just,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, John. Anything else, John? Directors, anything else? Mayor?
Yeah, this is Herman.
Oh, Herman, I'm sorry.
Mayor?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Herman.
Oh, okay. Well, a short positive thing. We signed the agreement with the Fraser family today, just as we talked about before. It's the same figure and we'll move forward to getting it closed out over here in our bill grant process. So I just wanted to let y'all know that we've now signed that agreement or they've signed it, and we'll move forward. So that's good news.
How about,
It
how
just
about
had
the
to.
other property that we have approved? When will we have right of entry?
Well, we're working on, I think we paid the money into court, and now we're working on getting the surety bond. And in fact, today I talked with the surety company to try to get some more answers. I explained to them that we needed to hear pretty soon, but this is a novel idea to them, and they are working to get us information and more importantly, get us a surety bond. So that's where we are. That's what. Other than that, we're ready to go.
Okay, just so we meet that deadline.
Oh, you better believe. Oh, yes. I think about it 7 days a week. Sure do. Thank you.
Mayor, did you have anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
I just hung up. I just went click. What is his